right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We all vowed to help each other with technology tonight. That's just
Well, and I want to tell you, this was a close one. I didn't have power in my office until 1 o'clock this afternoon, and my presentation is on my desktop computer.
Oh my gosh.
So I almost had to punt, but fortunately, I didn't.
We've had a few close calls like that of people just getting power and access to their computers. So, hooray! Here we are in the midst of a pandemic and an ice storm and, you know, a plague, but the meeting will go on. So welcome everybody to our meeting tonight. If you don't know me, I'm Nanette Olivier, and I'll just kind of help try to move the meeting along tonight. But we're so grateful everybody got to this meeting. So let me give you a quick overview of what we'll cover tonight. We have really presentations from members within the group, so we're really excited about that, including a presentation on a final project, and then a number of our photographers will be sharing their work. And Vicki Laplace is going to be presenting a fun puzzle. She's really good at that type of thing. Amber's going to give us some updates about the CNC, and then we'll hear from Colette, hopefully, about organizational updates. So I'm going to begin with turning this over to Tracy Allen, who's our programming director, who's going to hopefully introduce some new class members in our current class. And by the way, whenever we're introducing you tonight, this is kind of like a Hollywood Squares thing. People like go, hi. So you're activated for the image to focus on you. Okay, so Tracy, there you go.
Hi, all. Hi, thanks, Nanette. Hi, everybody. Yes, our spring 2021 class started on February the 6th. We have 17 students this semester, some carried over from last semester. And so what I'd like to do is, if you're a student this semester, the spring 2021 class, I want you to turn on your video right now. Come on, turn on your video. Come on, just for a second. All right, what I want to do is just introduce, looks like we have 4 people here from the class. So I just want y'all to say hi, or whatever you want to say. Just say hi or yo or whatever, and just put your hand up so we know who you are. So I see Jessica Diaz is here. That's Jessica.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Doug Daigle. Doug, I don't see your, there he is. Hi, Doug. Emily DeStefano.
Hello.
Hi, Emily.
Hey.
And Michelle Abing.
Hi, everybody.
I'm Michelle. Hi. Anybody else I missed in this class? Nope. And we still have a couple of people that we all might not know from last year that carried over, which would be John Hanley. You were in that class, right?
Yeah.
And I'll have to use my memory for this. Karen Benjello, you were in this class. And Bill Hines. Bill is over there. Wave, Bill.
Gotta say hi. We can't see you.
Okay, and Anita was in that class? And Anita. All right, did I miss anybody else?
Doug was in the class too, Tracy. Doug Daigle was in the class.
I thought I said Doug.
Yeah.
Got Doug. All right. All right.
Jerry
That's
Becknell.
Oh yeah, Jerry Becknell. Oh.
Can't see me, but hello everyone.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
And Alex.
We're glad to have y'all in the class and with us, graduated and potential graduates, and glad to have you here at the meeting tonight. All right, back to you, Nanette.
Okay, thanks, Tracy, and welcome, especially to the new people who are in the new class this spring. Okay, we're going to move on to the presentations. And our first presentation is going to be a final project presented by Mary Ann Sternberg. So Mary Ann, before you put up your screen, can you say hello to everybody like a Hollywood Squares style?
Like that?
Yes, perfect. Mary Ann Sternberg. So she's going to pull up her screen and I'll tell you a little bit about Mary Ann. She just finished the certification program. Marianne is a longtime freelance writer and author of 4 nonfiction books. Her subject matter has included history, culture, natural history, travel, and food. And her work has appeared in a variety of local, regional, and national newspapers and magazines, including Sierra, Montana Magazine, the Dallas Morning News, Louisiana Conservationist, and more. And so I'm going to turn this over to Marianne, and she'll tell us about her project. And it's yours.
All right. Well, let me go ahead and put this. All right, John, you're on board, right?
I am. So you're going to share your screen.
All right. Let me
And
wait.
Annette, I think you have it available for
All
her
right.
screen to
I
be
gotta
seen,
share
right?
screen. All right. And do I open the, I put it in, do I open it to
Ye-
full screen, my
ye-
PowerPoint first?
Yeah, open your PowerPoint to
It's
full,
Full, all right.
yeah. And then you can share your screen.
Yeah, well,
You might have to switch from advanced back to basic.
wait. Here. All right, share.
Okay, looks like it's coming up. Okay, just go ahead and run your presentation.
All right, well, wait. Then I need to open it.
Just hit play.
There, can you see that?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay, all right. So I'm sure that most of you all are familiar with Margaret Stones and the remarkable botanical art project she had created for LSU in the 1970s and 80s. For this project, which was called The Native Flora of Louisiana, Chancellor Paul Morrill commissioned the internationally known botanical artist for 200 illustrations of native trees, shrubs, and herbaceous plants from all over the state. She came twice a year for more than 10 years. Botanical illustration, in case you need to brush up on it a little, is an ancient art. When true-to-life illustrations were used to describe and identify plants with medicinal purposes. Then during the age of exploration, botanical illustrators traveled the globe with the explorers and the scientists and the collectors in order to document the New World plants that they found. And botanical art emphasizes accuracy because it's able to depict not only what can be seen with the naked eye, but also what could not, things like root structure, stages of development, microscopic hairs on leaves and stems, and so forth. Botanical art has also been collectible artwork through the ages and used decoratively. The work of Margaret Stones, like that of the greatest botanical artists, is a marriage of scientific accuracy and artistic vision. She worked with a microscope as well as her watercolor paints, and she evidenced a great ability to understand botanically and design aesthetically. She defined her art this way: I think botanical artists should be able to steer an even course between art and science, or literal interpretation. An exact interpretation can be very deadly, and an arty thing can be a very silly thing. And you have to have heard her say something like that because she was delightful in the way that she expressed herself. Margaret drew her portraits of the state's native plant life only from live material, never from photographs. So the wildflowers, shrubs, and the trees, both common and rare, had to arrive fresh at the studio that LSU set up for her on the campus. And the original list of plants that landscape architects had created was often reconfigured. In fact, it was very much reconfigured from the beginning to the end because new species were discovered. Best of all, sometimes Margaret herself got to go along for the finds because she loved going out in the field with the botanists and the collectors. The Native Flora Project has been compared to Audubon's Birds of America, but less broadly appreciated were its lasting contributions to Louisiana botanical knowledge. and these include: when Margaret arrived, there was no field guide or flora manual of Louisiana native plants, so she had to interpolate between guides to Texas and North Carolina, as well as rely on the knowledge of LSU botanist Lowell Urbach, who was assigned to the project and who most of you know. The wild strawberry, and I'm going to mispronounce its scientific name, Fragaria virginiana, it is edible. It's uncommon in the state. It was not known to Lowell. It was found for the first time in Bossier Parish during this project. Because Louisiana hadn't been thoroughly botanized in many decades, the Native Flora Project encouraged botanists and plant lovers all over the state to go exploring. This created a network of botanical collectors from around the state. And as a result, the project rectified the absence of an updated, definitive, though not comprehensive record of Louisiana plant life, because no one still knows how many thousands of species of plant life exist in Louisiana, according to Lowell. Here was something that had possibly never been collected before this project: Louisiana blue star, Amsonia ludoviciana, which was found in Natchitoches Parish. The project created an original record of species from the 6 vegetative regions of the state. Plants that were thought to have been extinct were discovered. Many rare and endangered plants were documented. For example, the yellow fringeless orchid, Plantanthera integra, found for the first time in Louisiana in St. Tammany Parish. Catesby's lily, Lilium catesbaei. It hadn't been seen in the state for quite a while. It was found in Washington and St. Tammany parishes. When the project began, there was no statewide program to census plants. Since then, both the Nature Conservancy and Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries have undertaken such things, and Wildlife and Fisheries has taken over keeping track of rare and threatened species. The yellow lady slipper orchid, and I'm really not going to try to pronounce this one, was known but was quite rare. It was found in Natchitoches Parish as they were exploring, looking for species. The drawings themselves have become useful classroom tools for teaching botany and horticulture, because all of the images, all of the watercolor drawings have been digitized. And Margaret detailed both the plants and plant parts, as you can see in these 2 drawings. And her working drawings are also part of the McElhenney collection at Hill Memorial Library. Furthermore, according to Lowell, when you look at botanical drawings, it also enables a plant scientist to familiarize himself or herself with unfamiliar plants. All plant materials collected for the drawings went into LSU's herbarium after Margaret was finished with them. I don't know if the master naturalists have ever taken a field trip to the herbarium, but it might be worth adding to the outings if you haven't. A herbarium is a collection of dried and labeled plant specimens. It serves as a data source and an archive. LSU has an extensive herbarium that's located in Life Sciences Annex building. The Stones Project plants are now used to document what grows where and when in the state, because each species was entered according to when and where it was collected. They can also be used to plot distribution of species, and their DNA can be taken to help with identification of other plants. I found that remarkable, but according to Lowell, this is absolutely a wonderful thing to do with them. Best of all, for folks like members of Louisiana Master Naturalist Program, this project catalyzed an awareness of the state's natural heritage among so many more people than had ever been done before. It awakened a broad interest in native plants, natural history, and the environment among non-scientists and lay people all over the state. In summary, the scientific contributions of the project called the Native Flora of Louisiana, in addition to its artistic impact, were really significant. Lowell Urbach defined it so well. He wrote, "We humans share this planet with tremendous amounts of plant biodiversity. Margaret Stones has bridged the divide between scientists, artists, and many diverse disciplines in Louisiana to broaden our understanding of our natural resources, their appreciation, and conservation." Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary Ann. That was just fascinating. And I was absolutely clued in at early on when you spoke about that she captured this ability to blend the scientific and the artistic focus on her project. And every slide you would show me, I was just drawn into that thought. Wow.
That was what was so extraordinary about what she did.
Yeah. I wondered, does anyone, we don't have a lot of time for questions, but maybe a couple of minutes. Are there some questions that you might like to ask or comments? Certainly you can put comments in the chat box too.
Great presentation, Marianne.
Thank you, John.
I'm reading, thank you. I love the subject matter and enjoyed the presentation. Another thank you. That was really extraordinary.
Do I pass?
You passed. Well,
Thank you.
I'm not
Okay.
sure. I'm just telling you, you passed tonight for sure. That was wonderful.
Okay.
So was there ever like a book published with her work in it?
Yeah, there was a book published early on. And then there was a book published about 1.5 years ago that's a great big book.
Mm.
It's the size of the Audubon folio.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But you keep your eye, if you haven't seen her artwork, keep your eyes open, because Hill Memorial puts some of them on exhibit every so often.
Yeah.
And they really are extraordinary.
I've
And
seen
I
the
have
book. It's beautiful.
I will add one note and not take up any time, but I got introduced to Margaret very early on, and I wrote a number of articles about her project here. And I got to go out in the field with them several times, and it was really, really exciting.
I see a question here, Marianne. Where is it Herbart LSU Herbarium? I'm not sure.
Herbarium
Yeah. Where is it?
in the Life Sciences Annex building.
Okay. And I'm seeing from Jane, the book is only $293.58.
That's the new book. The old book was about $40.
Oh, I like $40, but okay.
The reproductions in the new one are exquisite, but the reason that's why.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to thank you so much. That was really wonderful. Wonderful presentation. So we're going to move on to our photography presentations. And we're going to begin with a Hollywood Squares introduction, just so you get to see who is going to be presenting tonight. So just one by one, when I call your name, just kind of wave and say hello loudly so the video flashes on you. Janie Bro. Yoo-hoo, Janie.
Now, the problem right now for me is that
He
the
doesn't have
screens-
internet. Jane doesn't have internet.
Oh, okay.
But the screen's being shared, and now that we can see everybody or half the people anyway. Yeah.
I shared my screen too early. I was ready to go.
All right. Okay.
Sorry.
Well, Jenny, we'll just move on because you're ready to go, and we'll.
No, I unshared, so I can share again.
Okay, now.
Perfect. Okay. All
But
right.
did you want a Hollywood Squares, everybody?
Go ahead and start. We'll do that later because we've got you up.
Well, also, I was going to add that my mother developed a friendship with Margaret while she was here. And I'm not sure how that came about, but I'm embarrassed to say that I probably didn't appreciate her work so much, while she was here. And because, she was always coming over to our house for dinner, and I'd go pick her up at her dorm room that she would stay at LSU and bring her over to the house for dinner. And so, no, I mean, I loved her and she was delightful, but I had young children at the time, like babies. And so I really pretty much had my hands full. In fact, I teased the kids and I said, well, you know, one day Margaret's going to be famous, and I should have taken a picture at your baptismal brunch, because she was there, because, you know, I was planning it. And my mother said, well, I was planning on having brunch with Margaret. And I said, well, it's the kid's baptism. You kind of need to come. And so I said, just bring Margaret. That's fine. And so she was at the kids brunch for their baptism. Of course, they were babies. So, but anyway.
So Janie, I'm going to say a couple of words about you before you start, so people know. Janie was in the first full-time Master Naturalist class in spring 2016. And previously she was a high school science teacher. That's not surprising. And science curriculum specialist for East Baton Rouge. She's also done some training for teachers as an educational publisher. And exploring outdoors on a nice day with her camera is tops on her list. Birds and wildflowers are her favorites. So go ahead, Janie.
Okay, well, first of all, let's see. Let me remember to turn on my timer, because I can get involved. I just wanted to first of all give you a short kind of recap of how my journey in photography started, and it wasn't too long ago. And what you'll see is my cross-country journey with my son Alex. He was moving from San Francisco back to Charleston, and so I flew out to San Francisco and drove with him cross country, and we had a wonderful trip. So many great memories. But here is my son Alex, and this was my first introduction in my, let's say, my adult life of someone using a real camera. And so he had just gotten a Nikon. And so while I was shooting everything with my iPhone, he was using his Nikon, and I kind of noticed, wow, those kind of come out pretty good. And so kind of got me thinking. Here's Alex and I at Lake Tahoe, one of the many wonderful places we stopped along the way. And so while he's using the camera, I said, well, my husband was not with us, but my husband used to be a photographer with the newspaper before he went to law school. And so I thought, well, you know, you might enjoy using a camera too. So he got a Nikon. And the reason why he got a Nikon is because Alex had a Nikon, and you can switch lenses back and forth. And so when he got his camera, he decided I needed a camera. So he bought me one. And I'll have to say, I really was not interested at all. I just kind of went along with it, and he'd gotten it for me. And so, but my first thought, well, you know, with my iPhone, I can't really take pictures of spiders, because, you know, when you try to take a picture of a spider with an iPhone, you know, you just can't get that focus point, you know, because it goes beyond it. So I started out and said, well, yeah, I guess this camera's worth something, because I can take pictures of spiders that I couldn't take with my iPhone. And so here's a golden orb weaver, and here's a red femered spotted orb weaver. And so from there, progressing, and it wasn't until about a year after I was shooting with the regular camera that I got the life changer, and this was the big new lens. And the big new lens was a Nikon 200 to 500 telescopic lens, and I absolutely love it. And it opened up the whole new world of the way in which I was finally able to see birds. And as you're going to find out, I'm really not a very good birder. I'm always the one, you know, in the group that say, where? And so, and then when I see them, I have trouble seeing all the things, and I don't know whether or not I don't see very well, or whether or not I need $1,000 binoculars. I have a pretty good pair, but obviously not good enough. But I really can see the birds with my camera. And so I usually bird with my camera and enjoy that more than I do my binoculars. And some of the perks of taking pictures is you can actually see the red belly of the red-bellied woodpecker, as you can see here. And then also, you know, a lot of birding, as you know, when people show you pictures, you see this wonderful bird, but that's not what birding is really like. This is what you usually see, and it's usually just a quick glimpse. And so, you know, in my binoculars life, I would just, oh, I see a yellow bird, and then boop, it's gone. And I really don't know what it is. But when I can snap a picture with my camera, then I have time to look at it and I can say, oh, okay, so that is a summer tanager female. And so it gives you some time to look at it and to help me with my identification. And it's done worlds of good with helping me learn to identify birds. And Jane Patterson can attest my early camera days when I would send her pictures. So what do you think this is? And, oh, I don't know. I think I need a little bit better focus. So my new big lens really helped with that to target in on them. And a lot of fun with taking birds pictures is afterwards, when you're looking through your pictures, you're like bird watching all over again. Can anyone see the bird in this picture?
Yes.
Yes.
There is one.
Mhm.
And then when I looked at my pictures, whoop, there he is.
Wow.
And so there was the beautiful northern parula that popped down from being hidden. But the way in which they can hide in trees is just astounding to me. You know, how they can, you know, you'll see a whole flock of birds and then all of a sudden they land in a tree and you can't find a one of them. So it's just amazing how they can hide in trees. A lot of my pictures are not very good, but at least it's I can get an identification, you know, that I wouldn't have gotten before. So, you know, yeah, I'm swallowing my pride and showing you I have a lot of pictures that look like this, but I would have never have been able to identify a magnolia warbler without this this blurry picture and to see it. And so it was exciting to me in order to find, even though this isn't a picture that I would show anybody, but y'all, my master naturalist close friends, because it's a bad picture, but it allows me identification. And I also will tell you that my identification really showed itself to be extremely poor in that here we see a downy woodpecker. And many of you know that we have a camp that I spend a lot of time in River Pines outside Springfield. And so I had a lot of downy woodpeckers around there and I'd taken their picture a lot. And I was taking a walk, and as I do most mornings there, and shooting with my camera. This was my long lens, and there was a little bird that I saw right there. And I said, oh, well, that's another downy, but let me get a picture because he's right there, easy to get. And then when I was editing, I looked at it and I looked again. I said, you know, I don't think that's a downy. And that's a red cockaded woodpecker, you know, or endangered woodpecker. And I am very embarrassed, but also very pleased that I finally know that they are there. And this photo was taken in 2020 of last year. And they are not new to there because the cavities in the right down the street are very well used and have been there for many generations. And we've had a home there since 1986. And I thought that those little squeaks that I thought were downies are not. They're red cockaded woodpeckers. And so I'm very pleased that my photography has enabled me to identify this bird as well as many others. I would have never known this. This was a blue-headed vireo with just a quick look, you know, and it's not, you know, I mean, you know, wouldn't be something you would show off in a photography show, but gee, I mean, you know, if I had my binoculars, I'd just look at that and I'd say, oh my goodness, I see a little yellow, I see that eye, what is it? What is it? And then quick, and then it's gone. Then I have to remember everything, then go look it up in the guidebook. And I can't remember every little thing that I see. So photography, if you are trying to learn birds, is a huge, huge help so that you can see all those different parts. And I love prothonotary warblers, and I would spend a lot of time chasing them around Tickfaw State Park. And I was so excited when this one nested in a little area that I knew where to find, and I was going to follow them. But then I had a pair that nest right on my porch. And so I was able to get a whole bunch of beautiful pictures of the prothonotary warbler. I didn't have to chase them around the swamp anymore. They were right at my house, and I was so excited. Also, what I found that I use the long lens for is, in addition to birds, is you can go up to the top of trees. And, you know, as a biology student, you know, you learn there's flowering trees, and I always want to say, well, okay, well, so where's the flowers? And so I was often told, well, they're way up high and they're kind of short-lived. So last spring, I was able to use my long lens to go up into the very high parts of the tupelo tree and be able to distinguish between the male and the female flowers, as you see here. And not great pictures, but I worked hard to get them, and I was excited to see, because it's not something that you would see. And guidebook books are really lacking these. I really had to work in order to figure out which was the male and which one was the female. I think I ended up, you know, posting on some plant Facebook pages in order to get some help in knowing the difference. Also, in photographing plants and using for identification, what I try to do is I try to get the different stages. You know, it's just as important to see them in seed before and after, as well as, you know, you have to bend down and get the different parts of the leaves and up underneath it and so forth. And does anybody know what this is? It is a dwarf palmetto. And gee, when I saw the flowers, I would have no idea what it was. But often when we look at things, we want to see, gee, what is it? And one of the points that I want to make I'm kind of going off of photography just for a second, is we use guidebooks a lot. And I know that in Master Naturalists, we're all, you know, into what is it? What is it? Let's name it. What's the scientific name? But Richard Feynman is one of my very favorite scientists that I like. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's actually was a physicist, not ours at all, but he's written some incredible work if ever you have a chance to look at some of those. But one of his quotes that I really like is, I learned very early the difference between knowing the name of something and knowing something. And so this is something I have to always remind myself, is the naming is important, but it's not everything. It's just as important to find out about it, such as when I was looking at dandelions and I read about different types of aster flowers, and they can be distinguished by the different types of pappus structures, and said, well, I want to know what a pappus is. So I use my camera in order to explore different parts of something, as well as this jack in the pulpit. And when you find out that a jack may be a jack or a jackie, you find out that these are actually separate sexes. And so when I found out that they were separate sexes, I wanted to see what they were. So I just wanted to show you some different types of photography techniques. The top pictures were taken with the macro lens on my Nikon, but then the bottom pictures are just simply taken with an iPhone attachment of a little microscope onto the camera. And so you see the male on the left and the female on the right. And so these are amazing to learn about, and in that they are separate sexes, but they can also change sexes from season to season, and sometimes even during a season, depending on the condition. And one more little interesting thing is they're fertilized with a fungus gnat. And the fungus gnat goes into the male, and there's an escape hole. But then when he goes into the female flower, there is no escape hole, and he's just stuck there, just to bounce around and leave his pollen for the female. So just kind of for those of you who are new to Master Naturalist, or maybe just finding your place, this is another one of Richard Feynman's quotes that I really like, is fall in love with an activity and just do it. And so there's so many different opportunities in Master Naturalist to explore, and you're not going to be an expert at anything, but at everything, but find something that fulfills your passion and go after it. And so maybe photography might be a way for you to continue your exploration. And back to you, Nanette.
Oh, thank you, Janie. That was amazing. That picture of the dandelion would just blew me away. Oh my gosh. I mean, I welcome people to put, make a couple of quick comments or put comments in the chat box. I'm seeing very cool, Janie, beautiful pictures. Love the spiders and bird shots. Great photo. And I'm astounded that you've only been practicing as a photographer for a few years.
Right. Well, 2020.
Yeah. Oh, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's really
2020 was one of those years.
Oh wow. Well, that,
You know, we're my husband and I are two old people. The kids are gone. It's just us.
that is fabulous. Janie, can you see the comments coming up?
Mhm.
Okay, all right. I won't
Thank
read
you.
them all if people can see them. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm going to move us on because we have a number of people to share. And I think I'm going to skip the Hollywood scares, not scares. We aren't scary, squares. And we'll move on to the next presenter and just say hello. So the next presenter is Erin Bryan. Erin, can you say hello and activate your screen?
Hey, everybody.
Okay. And while Erin's pulling up, I'll tell you a bit about Erin. She's been a master naturalist since 2018, and she organizes reptiles and amphibians certification class and helps out with the arthropods and nocturnal naturalist workshops. Some call her the snake whisperer because she always manages to find snakes. And if you follow her on Facebook, you're bound to see a snake photo amongst all her posts. And Erin has a great appreciation for outdoors and enjoys sharing her pictures with everyone because she really wants to bring people and nature closer together. And so with that, I'll turn this over to Erin. Are you there, Erin? Erin?
Hey, I'm sorry. Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, so when I shared screen, let's see. Oh, okay, share sound. Okay. All right, we're good now.
Are you able to pull up your photos?
Are you not seeing them?
No. We see like your quick
Your
access desktop, you know, but we don't see photos.
So you don't
Looks
see,
like it's coming up.
Looks like it's coming up. Yeah.
are you seeing it now?
Well, we see it
We
come.
see your cursor. We see a black screen.
Oh, it's just a black screen.
Yeah.
Okay. It's pre-recorded, so that's what I'm trying to get to play. So y'all are hearing me, but y'all are not hearing my video playing?
No.
Correct.
Let me try this again.
Okay.
On your share, don't you have to hit share sound and
I
optimize
did.
video for clip?
Let me try it again. Let's see.
Did you
Share
hit
sound.
optimize for video? It looks like it's, well, we got your
Okay.
desktop.
Okay. And is a
Okay,
presentation coming up?
It looks like it's trying. Got a black screen with your cursor.
I'm gonna give it a second, see if it comes up. Can you see a slideshow or no?
No.
You know what, Erin, here's a thought. Why don't we do this? Let's go on to the next person, and then maybe you can get your presentation up and run, you know, really up, and then we'll come back to you after. How's that?
Let me undo, let's see. How about this? Is it showing now? Or is it the same thing?
We see your desktop, but not the slides rolling.
And the slide's not up right now?
Correct.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
See, what are you running it in? In PowerPoint or?
I pre-recorded it in Zoom. So
Oh, I see.
um
Maybe you can download it or,
yeah, I mean I could just oops. Let's see what did I do. Okay. Did I stop sharing my screen?
We're seeing you.
Okay.
yes.
Okay. All right. Well, you can go on to the next person and I'll just pull it back up in the regular slideshow mode and do it after
That sounds
or
good.
at the end.
Okay. All right. We'll come back to you, Aaron. And John, who's been helping out with technology here, is next. So we'll just go on to John. And John just finished the training Master Ladder Shows program in December 2020. And he is an accomplished amateur photographer. And he's contributed a number of photos and articles to the Buzz. He is helping to document the progress of the Cajun Prairie inspired meadow at the Hilltop Arboretum. He retired from the Louisiana Department of Ed, and I know that because I know him from work, in 2018. And since then, he's pursued his interest in habitat gardening. And he's a member of the Master Gardener Association, Louisiana Photographic Society, and Friends of the Hilltop Arboretum. Take it on, John.
Okay, thank you, Nanette. I want to begin by asking a very basic question. Ready? How do you see yourself as a photographer? How do you see yourself as a nature photographer? When you go out in the field with your camera, do you think of yourself as a journalist? Or maybe more like an artist? Or maybe it's a combination of all three. Understanding how photography will not only help us to determine what we photograph, but how we photograph it. So I want to talk to you today about 3 ways I've come up with for photographing plants and animals and their habitats. And then I'd like to share with you some tips and tricks to help you become a better nature photographer. So let's talk about the first one. Here, your emphasis is on documentation. Think of taking family. Yeah.
We're hearing some static. Is there paper maybe?
Yeah, that's my script. I'll try to make it quiet.
Okay.
Here, your emphasis is on documentation. Think of a family vacation or visiting a fair or festival. You may have been struck by the beautiful landscapes and want to be able to share the experience with friends and family when you get back. Think about some of your own travel photos. Maybe you felt at times like you were a reporter or a foreign journalist. You were careful to document the essence of the experience in a way that people could appreciate and understand. The main thing is you were open to these experiences. And as a family photographer or even a nature photographer, you were looking for ways to be able to share the moment with others. We've talked about the journalist. Now let's talk about approaching nature photography like a scientist. Here, your emphasis is on being authentic and revealing the beauty and marvels of nature. When you approach your nature photography like a scientist, you're careful to look for interesting or unusual specimens. Your powers of observation are amplified, and you are often rewarded, to borrow from Charles Darwin, with the grandeur in this view of life, with its endless forms, most beautiful and most wonderful. You may come to feel that your collection of nature photos could be of scientific interest. If so, consider submitting them to sites like iNaturalist. We talked about approaching nature photography like a journalist and like a scientist. Now let's approach it like an artist. When you approach nature photography as an artist, your emphasis is on beauty and emotion. The subject becomes a means to express your interpretation of nature. Here's an example. I like this one because it looks like the reflections on the water are being transformed into birds, like the goddess Aphrodite arising from the sea foam. It's a real event, of course, but it attempts to go beyond that in ways that touch the imagination. The photo on the left is of a caterpillar, but it's also an exploration of radiating lines that hover above an infinite plane. I like how the shadow gives the image depth. In this case, the geometry transcends the literal caterpillar. The photo on the right was taken at Hilltop Arboretum. It reminds me of Claude Monet, the famous French Impressionist painter, whose paintings of water lilies you may have seen. Again, in these kinds of photos, your emphasis is less on realism and more on aesthetics and on creating an emotional response through your interpretation of nature. So what kind of photographer are you? Do you see how the ways in which you approach nature photography can determine not only what you photograph, but how you photograph them? So think of these ways as you approach your own nature photography. If it's as a journalist, where your emphasis is on documentation and sharing your experiences with family and friends, or maybe as a scientist, where your emphasis is on authenticity and revealing the wonders of nature in a realistic way. Or as an artist, where your emphasis is on beauty and emotions and expressing your interpretation of nature. So now let's talk about tips and tricks. When you first identify your subject, think of it as existing in the center of a bubble. From what angles will you photograph your subject? Rotate around the bubble to try different angles. You might find several interesting perspectives that way. For example, take a photo from the top and then from the bottom. In the photo on the left, I imagine I was looking on the pond with a frog's eye view. In the photo on the right, I had taken many photos of the sunflowers at Hilltop Arboretum. In this case, I wanted to switch it around and take a photo from the back of the flower instead. Related to this is changing your field of view. As a nature photographer, it is often a good idea to take photos of your subject in the context of their surroundings or habitat. Then go in closer and isolate the subject. Then closer still, if you can, to bring out particular details. Use the aperture setting on your camera to draw attention to different aspects of your subject. In the picture on the left, your eye is naturally drawn to the length of a single fern frond. In the picture on the right of the same fern frond, your eye is drawn to the tip. Even when lighting conditions are not the best, you may still be able to get some interesting shots. Look for the interplay of light and shadow and take a chance on getting a nice photo. Don't be afraid to break the rules. Experiment. Look at the birds on the left. Every one of those birds is out of focus. Doesn't matter, because to my mind, at least, they are the suggestion of birds. It's as if they were drawn by an impressionist painter, intent on revealing a sense of life and motion. Then there's the iguana on the right. Here, there's no central focus, no rule of thirds, barely a leading line, but you look at this proud fellow and you are immediately drawn to his majestic face. A moment later, you are looking at his clownish foot. It's like a comic twist. And that's why both of these photos appeal to me. They don't follow conventions, yet they still work as nature photos. If given an opportunity, take advantage of the complementary or contrasting colors found abundantly in nature, whether it's a fruit, a flower, or a fish, or not. Bright backgrounds can bring out a lot of contrast in your photos and make this photo color seem washed out. You can sometimes rescue a high contrast photo by converting it to black and white. You might be surprised. Some of your high contrast photos might become more striking when you remove the colors. Nature is full of textures and patterns. They not only help us to identify plants and animals, they also help them to survive. Look for them. Try surrounding your subject with little or no background. This use of negative space is a good way to draw attention to your subject and can add interest to your photograph. Notice that the subject does not always have to be in the center. Be different. To be a creative nature photographer, you must give yourself permission to be different, to look at the ordinary with new eyes. I'm sure we all have beautiful photos of spring flowers and glorious butterflies at the prime of life. But what about when the prime of life has passed? Here I was intrigued by what nature reveals when the end has come. Finally, expect the unexpected. You never know when a photo opportunity will present itself to you. You might just get a great shot out of it. But no matter how you see yourself as a nature photographer, I want to challenge you to become the kind of nature photographer you want to be. Thank you. And now back to you, Nanette.
Thank you, John. Those were just stunning pictures.
Thank you.
And just, I'm not a photographer, and just listening to how to approach this, I just learned a lot by this very brief presentation. That was really nice. I see a lot of wonderful comments coming in. Anybody else want to say something? But it was just really, really lovely.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope it inspires folks.
It was inspirational. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to Linda Medine. And I'm so glad Linda just got her power today. So we're so glad she's got power and she's on board. So I'll tell you a bit about Linda. Linda, you want to say hi so we see you?
Okay. Hey, everyone.
Hey, this is Linda Medine. And while she gets her presentation up, I'll tell you a bit about Linda. She was a banker by trade for 40 years and also a part-time professional photographer for 35 years, taking pictures at weddings on the weekends. And now she's retired from both of those jobs. And she's a passionate landscape and wildlife photographer. And she's learned a lot of her skills through the Louisiana Photographic Society. She is a master naturalist and a master gardener and really enjoys volunteering and working with both groups. And so we'll turn this over to Linda.
Okay, here we go. Share. Hold on.
We see you. We see birds.
Okay, hold on just a
We
second.
see ducks.
Okay. Yes, I am was a photographer for 35 years, and I was a banker at the same time. So I had two jobs. So I retired a little early because I was pretty much worked real hard for the time that I did work. And then I decided, well, it's time to retire. And then I quit doing people pictures and started doing wildlife. And the pictures that I'm going to show you, I've got 6 images that I'm going to show you. And the pictures that I have, I've taken at the LSU Lake and at the hilltop. And the last one I have is like vacation pictures. So my advice is to let me see if I can put my timer on too. Okay, here we go. Would be to keep your image simple. And I'm pretty much going from what John had said. He has said a lot of good things, and I'm probably going to repeat those items because they're really important, is to keep your image simple, like this picture of these ducks at the LSU Lakes. Also, watch your background and watch for distractions. So in this image, I'm showing that your eyes goes directly to the birds because of the fact that there's no other distractions, and then to tell a story. One thing that I find too is to have a plan when you go out to take pictures, is to decide on, where are you going? What camera will you bring, or will you bring your cell phone? I use a Nikon camera. I have several lenses, like with this picture here. I've used the Tamron 150 to 600, and I use it on a crop camera, so that makes it even closer. I'm usually in my car when I'm taking pictures like this because there's no parking around the LSU Lakes. So I turn my car off normally to take the picture, to keep it from the vibrations or to being out of focus. So like I said, in the time of day is really important. Early afternoon or early morning. So a lot of times you're getting up really early. Like birding, you're getting up early because the feeding, the time of the birds eating, and then late afternoons. So this picture was taken at LSU, and let me get my next one here. Okay, this was taken at Hilltop, and what I'm telling you here is, for instance, to make sure that your angle is low enough to where you can get the detail on the flowers. And I had more than one flower in this picture, so I cropped out the other flower because I wanted your eye to go directly to this flower. The background is muted out. I'm using a 150. It's Tamron lens. It's a 150. I'm down on my belly, and I'm kind of moving around in different directions to try to get the right angle. So I took probably about 50 pictures of this one image till I decided on the one that I thought I got the image. I do use Photoshop in Lightroom on my images. It's a program that is about $11 a month, and they give you updates on these on the software. So it's something that if you're just, I don't know how many people are wanting to get into it like I'm into it, but that's something that I really feel like that you need to have to be able to get into it as passionate as I am into it. Okay, this one here is also taken at the LSU Lake. And so I'm telling you here that use different techniques. This is kind of called high key. So your background is bright. And when you do that, your subject, you can see the feathers, the detail of the bird. And on the birds, to make sure that the eye of the bird is very sharp, and show some of the environmental, the grass and stuff like that, to make it really authentic, the picture authentic. Most of the time, I try to get birds that are doing something to give it more interest and tell a story. But this bird was so pretty, and I figured I could do something a little different with it to make it stand out. And I really like the detail in it. The background is clear, so your eye's not going somewhere else in the picture. So try something different. Like John said, you're the artist, and just do whatever you can to make your picture look different, and to and have fun with it. Okay, the next one here we got. Okay, this is a bee that I had taken at Hilltop, and what I did on this picture is to get really close, and I took this with my cell phone. I have a app. It's the cell phone. It's a 6S or S6 or 6S, And I flipped the picture. The picture was really these little dilly dallies on the end. These were on the other side, but I figured that was so distracting to look at. So I flipped the picture, turned it around, and I like it a lot better. And I like the detail of the picture. And on different insects and even on birds is to have patience, wait. I mean, sometimes I just would like to just sit down and take a chair and just sit down and wait for something to happen instead of me trying to chase something every time I'm trying to looking for something to take. When I go on a field trip, that seems like that's what I do. I'm chasing the picture rather than just waiting and just relaxing and having a good time doing it. And you also look at the contrast, the colors of the pink offsetting the yellow and the black and the pink being, you know, like the contrast of it instead of this black blending into this color here. So if you had something really dark blending in here, so this is the contrast is really neat the way that this is. And you read from left to right. So when you're looking at this picture, you're looking at it from the left side up to the right side. And that's what you want your images to do, is to tell a story and have people read from one side to the other. The next picture here. And this is at the LSU Lakes in the afternoon. And another thing on pictures, if you can not have, looks like it's in the center, but it's off. You want to not have your subject dead in the center, and you want your picture to tell a story. You want people's eye to go to whatever the subject is, like this is your subject and you've got your birds, and then you've got the texture in the sky. And this is late afternoon, and I ride around the LSU lakes a lot. And sometimes Sundays are really good because people normally are going to church or coming back from church, and there's not too many students running at that time. But or if it's a rainy day, like this was a really rainy day. And I mean, the ducks were having a great time, but so there wasn't a lot of people walking around the lakes. And that's how I got these really neat clouds, because of the weather. And try to take pictures that have impact, you know, something that's really gonna make an impact when somebody looks at the picture. Okay, let's see, this is my last one. And that was also, the one with the tree, this one right here, this was also taken with my cell phone right outside of my window. So everybody can do this. And, you know, it's just to have an interest in it and to try to document what you're doing and where you're at. And this was taken with my cell phone as well. This was the Canadian Rockies. And this was, what I want to say here is that to take patterns, like this is a pattern, the way these boats are lined up in the different colors, but this is a pattern. This here is texture and a pattern, and these are patterns here, and the clouds are patterns. So this is to me, makes it more of an interesting picture because of the patterns and the composition and the way that textures and the repetitive of the items up here. I know I probably missed some stuff. I tried to do this from my heart, to say, instead of trying to memorize something, because I get nervous talking out loud like this. One-on-one, it's easy for me, but at a group, it's a little harder. But anyway, you know, when you're trying to make a plan for your trip, make sure you know what the weather's going to be like. Make sure you know what you're going to shoot, have an idea. And if you're going to go with someone or go by yourself, I mean, there's a lot of things. Make sure you get the map where you are. Make sure there's not any posted signs, because that's not a good thing. Don't trespass, you know, even though we do sometimes, we shouldn't trespass in other people's property, you know, be respectful of other people's property. You know, fill your car up with gas, make sure you have your batteries charged. You know, it's a lot of things. Make sure you have water and bring you a little lunch. It's just like planning anything else, but I love it. I mean, you can do this at any age. You can do it when you're old or young. I mean, it's just such a fun hobby to have. And I've learned so much. I'm a member of the Louisiana Photographic Society. I've really enjoyed being a member. I've held just about every office there, and I want to get more involved with the master naturalists as well. But one thing, lynda.com, the library, you can get to Lynda. It's lynda.com, and it's free. And it's a free service if you have a library card. And the thing that I wanted to say too, one more thing is just that when you do take pictures, if you would do something with them, like for instance, maybe make Christmas cards or make note cards or make a book or something to that effect, that's always fun to do. And I appreciate y'all listening. I hope you learned something. And thanks a lot for allowing me to do this.
Thank you, Linda. Those were lovely pictures. And your presentation was so informative. Just listening to you talk about that last picture and the consideration about the lines and the textures and the composition. Just very informative. Lovely stuff. I'm gonna have to move us on quickly so we get to everybody, but thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go back to Erin. Erin, do you think you can get your presentation up?
Yeah, let's try this again.
Try this again.
Okay,
Yes.
so share screen. All right. Okay, are y'all seeing it?
We see your desktop. We see the black screen with your cursor.
So it's just a black screen with a cursor.
At this point.
Grayish.
Did somebody say something?
Sounded like grayish.
Yeah. It's pretty much what we saw earlier, Erin.
Same thing. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Let me pull it up a different way.
Does it play on your computer at home?
Yeah, it's playing just fine on my computer. And it kind of did the same thing earlier too. It just took a second for it to show up. So I don't know why, but and same thing, is just black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you download it another way as like
Yeah, I'm gonna just do it from this. Okay. What about now?
we see your desktop. Now we see the gray background. We do see your cursor.
Because I mean, I have it up. I have my slideshow up right now.
Erin,
Okay.
you know what? Let me suggest this. We can have you on like the next quarterly meeting. If it's not going to work, I don't want you to get all frustrated with it. We'll do your presentation on another night if that would work for you.
Okay. I mean, I have it and this is not helping either, right?
It's not showing.
Okay.
So,
yeah, because that's in two different programs and it's not coming up.
The joys of technology. But we will get to your presentation. We'll just save it for another time.
Okay.
Okay, because I know everybody was dying to see your pictures, so we will just have to try another night.
Yeah.
So
not a problem.
Jump us to Natalie now, and Natalie was having some computer issues too. So I'll tell you a bit about Natalie. Can you say hi so we see your face?
Hi.
Oh, there she is. So and Natalie's got an interesting person behind her. But I'll tell you a bit about Natalie as she's trying to get her thing up. She joined Master Naturalist with the fall 2018 class. And I love this. She previously worked as a zookeeper at the Alabama Gulf Coast Zoo before moving back to Louisiana. And she's currently in Lafayette. And she's been searching for an outlet to fulfill her love of animals and the great outdoors. And when she stumbled upon the Master Naturalist booth, it was in her words, kismet encounter. I love that. So let's see if you can get your photos up.
So I couldn't get it to come up, but I'm wondering if one of the hosts could go under more and then to the security setting, if they could click on share, allow participants to share screen.
see, Amber, I think that would be Amber.
I'm looking, it looks like everyone can. Allow
see.
participants to share screen.
Because earlier, I had an option to share screen, but now it's not there. And I tried to upload it to another drive, but it doesn't look like it wants to cooperate.
Natalie, you're on an iPhone?
Yes.
Okay, and when you hit share, what choice does it give you?
When I hit share, I have photos, iCloud Drive, Dropbox, Microsoft OneDrive, Microsoft SharePoint, Google Drive Box, website URL, and bookmark.
All right,
But
where is your presentation?
it's in Keynote, which is not one of the options. But
see.
earlier when I practiced with Aaron, we could do it through screen share, which isn't an option now. But through screen share, you know, it was easier for us to pull up our presentations and share it from the phone.
When you hit share, Natalie, you have a choice of basic and advanced?
No.
Okay. Well, we might have to try another time then.
Yeah, I think.
Yes, and if that's what happens, it's okay.
But we have 2 people now who've had difficulty sharing, so we'll just need to reschedule like at maybe the subsequent quarterly meeting. So we aren't going to fret about it. You didn't do your work in vain to share. We'll do it another night. So now we're going to go to our next photographer, and that is Amber. And I think everybody knows Amber, but I'm going to do an intro and as she prepares her slides. Amber King is a generalist naturalist, and she graduated with the fall 2016 class. Her photography hobby is for eye naturalist identification, and you'll often see her photographing insects with her macro lens. And I see Amber out on the trail with her camera in a backpack a lot. She's constantly surprised that her family fully supports this odd hobby, and they like to help her tinker with her moth sheet setups. And these are her words, and her nerdy projects. So, Amber?
All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is one of my really early blurry photos that I took on my iPhone because I was learning iNaturalist, and I don't consider myself a photographer per se. I just like to take photos for iNaturalist. So I wanted to share the joys of doing that. So this one is a ambush bug, and I just loved the contrast against the moonflower blossom. And so that got me looking into ambush bugs. So then I start seeing them everywhere. And so I particularly love the photo on the left because this is on Thai basil. I just couldn't believe how much it looked just like the leaves. And then later I saw on a hilltop, the yellow one. At first I was like, what is wrong with this weird wasp? It's just sitting there funny. And then I saw that the ambush bug was eating it underneath it. That just like blew my mind. And so I kept going back to this photo wondering, why is it just sitting there? It's white, like a white moonflower, but there's no flower open. What's it waiting for? And then I would notice bees and things would land there too. And I realized, okay, it's trying to catch the bees. And so I looked it up and discovered, extra floral nectaries. I didn't know that plants had other places you can get nectar. So that explained why an unopened flower was being visited by insects. And so I never would have figured this out if I hadn't been asking questions about my iNaturalist observations. And so now I visit extra floral nectaries of like black elderberry and other things, and found these amazing flies and just weird things getting nectar. So much fun. And then I also learn about identifying features because iNaturalist helps you identify things. So this is a really, really old, early picture that I submitted to iNaturalist, and it's ridiculous because I didn't crop it. I didn't know you needed to see the sides of the wings and all that stuff. So it's only got identified to grass skipper, where
if you have more identifying features, you can get it to the species level. So I'm learning. So now I get real close, and this one is a little glassy wing. So I love these camphor weeds. They get lots of butterflies. So I visit them in the woods all the time. And you can also see the interactions with the little tiny flower inside the pink flower. So it's just, I don't notice these things until I get home, and it's so much fun. And I also get to see crazy stuff happen right before your eyes because you're standing there looking. So I could not believe I got the picture on the left was the leaf cutter bee in action. Actually cutting a leaf is just like a flash, and it was done, and it flew off with the folded leaf between its legs. And it was just like amazing because I'd always seen the holes in the leaves, but I've never seen the bee do it. And then on the right is a blurry photo of a longhorn bee who was zipping up and down these grass heads like a zipper. And it was just the coolest thing to watch, but I just couldn't get pictures of it because it was just there and it was gone. And so when I posted it in iNaturalist, a bee expert commented that it was a really interesting observation because not many people have studied bees pollinating grasses. So that was kind of fun. And then memory retention. I have the worst memory in the whole world. And you read about a bird, and I read that orange crown warblers get nectar, but I didn't remember that until I saw it happen. And I will never forget this now that I witnessed this right in front of my face. It was the coolest thing. It was such a nice surprise. And then now I see more. So when I go on hikes, I'll notice little things I never in a million years would have noticed before. But now I see, you see the little spider in there? And so now I got to look up the spider. Here she is with her pink mandibles and her little pink toes. And so then I start to ask questions. Well, can she change colors? How come this one's orange, the one I got last year? And then I come to find out the females can change colors, but the males can't. The males are always orange and brown. So it's just, I love learning this way. I also learned from others. At Allen Acres, they had a bug guide conference. And I got to learn about lighting for moth sheets and how they identify moths. And it was just the coolest thing ever. And then I also participated in a virtual myco blitz where they taught you how to collect mushrooms and submit them. And I mailed them to Purdue University, and they DNA sequenced a couple of mine. So that was fun. So I knew nothing about mushrooms, but here I got to contribute this DNA. So that was really neat. Interactions. This derpy osprey. It's like, what the heck is happening? I'm trying to take this beautiful regal picture, and he turns over and makes this face. And so turns out he was defending itself in midair against a pesky bird that was trying to chase it off. And then also you can add observation fields for all these things like food source. This adds a whole extra layer of research data. If you say, well, this bird is eating poison ivy berries, or this robber fly is eating a bumblebee, or this caterpillar is eating ragweed. Maybe a researcher didn't know that this caterpillar ate that host plant, so you can help with research. And then I didn't notice this disgusting parasite on that spider until I got home and was zooming in on it going, what is that blob on its back? So I got to look it up, and it's a parasitic wasp larva. So I just love how you can just learn all these things just from taking silly photos. So in my new mothing obsession, I am amazed constantly by the diversity of moths. These little brown things, if you start looking at them really close, it's just incredible. It's like the one on the top left looks like a broken twig. The one on the right has like, teardrop sequence. And the bottom has fuzzy head, and this other one looks like a leaf, and the other one has confetti coming out of its butt. And then the bottom right, it's like smaller than a grain of rice. Those are the ones that are the least studied, and citizen science data is going to help immensely with all those little moths. For example, Dr. Allen told me that mapping observation data and their range is really important. So I didn't realize each moth, each has different zones that it lives in. And so I've been excited when I can contribute a dot to a map. So like this summer, I found this little 3-spotted Phillip, and I made a dot. Look, this most southernmost observation of this little moth. So yay, science. So that's why I enjoy using iNaturalist and learning from it. And I'm trying to get better on my photography, and I'm having a blast doing it. So join me in the City Nature Challenge. Back to you, Nanette.
Thank you, Amber. Those were extraordinary pictures. This micro world that we're around, I'm just not so aware of. This is just extraordinary. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And just I have to kind of go quickly. Y'all can put your comments in the screen, but from everyone, it's this world of photography through scientific perspective, artistic, technical, just really being present, understanding what's in the world around us. It's extraordinary. And I need to move us on because of time. So I'm going to do that. And the next person who's going to share with us is going to be Vicki. And Vicki is the puzzle queen of the group. And she pulled together a puzzle that we invite you all to participate in. It's going to go by pretty quick, so you got to be attentive. And as Vicki's pulling up and getting ready to share her screen, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Vicki. She's been a member of our group since 2017, and she serves on the board. She loves nature and is particularly interested in relationships among organisms and with the non-living parts of the environment. Her specific interest is in plants, but she wants to learn more about fungi and lichens. Now, before we begin the puzzle, I'm going to invite you to put your answers in the chat box. We have 2 drawings for gift certificates for tonight. One is going to follow after this game immediately, but you don't have to win to be eligible for the prize. It's going to be a random drawing. Then we have a subsequent drawing at the very end of tonight. You have to be present to win. But Vicki pulled together this fantastic puzzle. I got to look at it already, and I even have the answers in front of me. But so Vicki, I'll turn it over to you, and I'll let you just start.
Okay, thanks, Annette. On this puzzle, I think it's going to be pretty much self-explanatory in terms of what to do, except for the very first ones. The goal was to create a puzzle, a real puzzle kind of thing. I only really have a few true puzzle questions because they were very difficult to do. But anyway, you'll see those. So what will happen is you'll see part of a screen and a little more, and try to answer it. Answer by in the chat box. And Nanette will be watching that and checking your answer, and then she'll call out when your answer is correct. But it has to be exact, not just fly, but 3-spotted horsefly or whatever it is. But anyway, I think that's probably about it. So, and notice it says the animal in the picture. There's only little hints of an animal there. Looks like some raisins to me.
Y'all gotta type your answers. No one has gotten it. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Okay.
I mean, when I took this picture, I had to look it up myself. But,
All right. Well. So, okay.
We'll try again. Oh, here's another one. Some of them are really easy. Come on.
John has it.
John has it? Oh, okay, great.
What kind though, John?
Oh.
Green one.
What kind?
Yeah.
A green one.
Yeah.
Green. You're right. Good.